Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Middle-Aged Masher. Have you ever decided to go work on your bike and realize that you were probably not the most skilled person to be working on it? Well, that was me about a month ago. After I had a really big crash, I decided that I would go ahead and start swapping shocks out and working on my bike. And well, say hello to cross-thread and the 7 steps of depression. Well, I had someone fix it, and I'm going to show you how we did it, and it's actually better than new. It's a product called TimeCert. Check it out and let me know what you think. And here's the lovely damage that I did by just putting a bolt in and pulling it back out. Pulled those threads right out of my RipMo AF and had to fix it.
So whenever you install any fastener in aluminum, a steel thread in aluminum, thread it backwards. I'm applying a little bit of pressure down and I'm gonna back it off and it'll fall off the shoulder. Once it falls off that shoulder, now I could advance forward and it found the thread and it's concentric. I'm gonna eyeball it and make sure she looks square. And then I'm gonna pilot hold and guide yourself so that you got something to hold on to.
That's what she said.
I'm gonna center it like this. I'm gonna eyeball center as best as I can. If you've got another person that can look down the drill this way, someone can look down it this way, that's really the best. So I can eyeball up and down and someone else could eyeball left and right, but this is close enough. So it'll have more torque. Pulled through. And I don't think I want to open it up anymore. And I'm going to take the drill bit out and I'm going to slide it through and make sure that it aligns with the far side hole nice. This lube has been filled from automatic transmission fluid. It's one of the synthetic automatic transmission fluid is some of the best lubricant on the planet. Nothing else lasts 100,000 miles, but I lubed the pilot, I lubed the hole.
That's what she said.
And I'm gonna just run it around, make sure everything's good. I'm gonna eyeball this thing high and low, top and bottom. If you can have somebody looking this way and looking this way, and you line it left and right, and your friend lines it this way, that's the best way to do it. So we're gonna cut a gap right down to this first shoulder. And so I'm gonna fire it up. So with this, I'm gonna twist it in and start it, and I'm gonna keep eyeballing it. So it looks good here. I can go as fast as I want, which is slow. It's the beginning of the tap that matters. Checking it every quarter revolution. It seems like it's cutting real nice. Because the threads are keeping this tool, the weight of this tool, square with a hole for the first two threads. Then after a while, it'll start to line itself up and you'll feel that it's working. This is exactly right. Put enough thread, and this is a shallow enough hole that I don't have to back it up and clear the chips otherwise. So I feel a little bit of resistance here. I'm gonna back it up, clear the chips. And normally I've had my compressor on and blow the chips off, but I'll just wipe them off here. Same thing, hold on to the thread here at the end so you don't mangle your threads. Clear some chips. Actually, I'm gonna start this by hand so that the weight of this tool isn't fighting me and I don't mangle any threads at the beginning, because the threads at the beginning matter the most. It's going by finger tight. As soon as it stops being finger tight, I'll align these flats with this flat and I'll tighten the tab on there.
So now it's basically forcing itself to be square with the threads that were already cut.
Yep, exactly. You don't want to mangle the threads that you already made that really look nice. I put red Loctite on this thing so it locks up, and I use lipstick Loctite, and you end up wasting a lot less, but you know, it's a lipstick container. So I installed the Loctite on the threaded insert, and then I'll lubricate these threads. These threads are like what's called roll forming. They're a square or a triangle shape, and what they do is they thread on to a certain point, and then they stop on the insert. And then you thread the insert through the hole, and then it opens a flute up on the last few threads. The last two threads of this insert are not threaded, and they basically back off the threads. And so when I run this in, the end of this thread will back off like a flute and force itself in there. The shoulder will prevent it from being pulled through. The flute will prevent it from being pulled out, and it'll dress this ductile iron to force fit in the hole. And what happens is they stop threading on after a certain point because these threads at the inside diameter of this stop being threads. You can see that there is no thread on the last few threads of it. And so what it's going to do is open up this barrel like a bell so that it can't come out this way. So we've put Loctite on these, lubricant on those. I'm going to go in square.
It's going into the preformed threads, and we're going to basically
there's
drive
no
that
interference.
shit home.
There's no interference fit here until this shank bottoms out. So there's the shank, it's bottomed out. And now I'm threading into the threaded insert. The threaded insert's not rotating. The mandrel on this is rotating, and now I'm going to install my tap handle.
And how do you know what torque to torque that to?
You don't. It bottoms out on it. So I'm going to, it goes all the way through. So I can feel on this side that the threaded insert's not going any further.
Okay.
It's not threading any deeper. And what I'm doing is I'm opening up that barrel, and I'm roll forming the internal threads on this threaded insert to expand them to the hole that it's
And it's matching the thread pitch of the bolt that
we're
comes with the
basically
Ibis.
opening it up, and it's getting less and less difficult. So yeah, we're roll forming these threads, and everything looks good. And I'm backing it out, and notice the threaded insert's not coming out.
Correct.
Because it's opened up like a flute. And then I'll clean off the backside. Now, there's where we might have a marginal install because we're removing some of the flute, but I'll run this tap back through, this roll former back through, and make sure that this threaded insert doesn't come out.
And would you say that's why we put the red Loctite on it as well?
Yes.
To ensure a tight mechanical fit?
Exactly. This is what's called a flapper disc. You can get them at any metal supply store or Harbor Freight. But they remove a lot of material, but they leave a decent finish, and then they have a little pressure. See how I can press on it? You don't have to press very hard, and they remove a lot of material. So I'm going to brace it and not get into the frame in either direction, but I'm going to look straight down on it so that I can get it square. Look how much I've removed at least 2 or 3 threads already. So once we finish with the abrasive wheel or the flapper disc, we end up with a little bit of media in here, and that's bound to mess up your threads. So get your compressor out, and we're going to clean it off, and then I'm going to douse it with brake cleaner. Brake cleaner is a solvent that should dry with no residue, but then I'm going to run the last tap through it one more time to clean up the threads on the far side, but it feels real good.
So do you run the tap through or the bolt through?
The tap. I'm going to run the last roll forming tap that we used and make sure that that thing roll forms the threads that we might have messed up with the grinder wheel on this side.
So it makes the threads perfect again.
Yep.
Okay. And there's the completed repair, and that looks as factory can get. That is smooth. It didn't encroach on any of the factory paint removal, and this repair is going to be absolutely perfect.
As good or better than from the factory. It can never hurt, but every shaft should go in with lube.
That's what she said.
Did you plan that?
No.
Can you make that straighter? That job looks hard.
Would you say if you're supposed to torque to 10 Newton meters, you'd go to about 8?
I don't know. I'm kind of a feel kind of guy.
That's what she said.
As good as new.